Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I'm your host, Blake Monroe. We're joined every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from this morning, what you're drinking, get your questions in. It's Wednesday, which means we got a little trench church with Tony Hills coming up here shortly. We're going to be talking to him. And we are 52 days away from kickoff. So be sure to tell us who your favorite number 52 is.
Yeah, tell us whether or not you're being rained on.
Yeah, I was going to say worse than that. We got our good friend Carl Padilla just texted Blake and I and said a tornado barely just missed his house. If you're in the San Antonio area, please be careful down there.
Yeah, that's awful.
When it rains, it pours in Texas. That's basically the theory. Blake, we've got a lot of stuff to go through. SEC Media Days around the corner. Jerry, we want to talk about some stuff with Tony Hills. Let's start, though, with a former Texas coach and what he said that made news yesterday. Do you mind bringing that up, Blake?
I don't.
Let's read this out, Blake.
All right. So Brennan Marion yesterday told The Athletic, obviously being in the Big 12 before when I was at Texas, I know other than Texas Tech, it hasn't drastically changed as far as the players. Our offensive line is better than what we had at Texas, other than we don't have Kelvin Banks. Offensive line-wise, we're better than we were at Texas. We're bigger. We're more physical. This will be the best offensive line that I've ever had. End quote.
Well, I don't know if he stays anywhere long enough to say something like this.
He's the perfect coach to recruit the portal because he lives in it.
Look, if you look at it, let's take what he said separately from Brennan Marion and his coaching history. He's literally been at 14 places in 16 years. There are nomadic existences in college sports and even in coaching in general. I don't know that I've ever seen anybody this much of a nomad. So 1 year at Texas, immediately leave to go to UNLV for 2, was at Pittsburgh, Hawaii, William and Mary. You can kind of say that this is all up, but I mean, frankly, he was the head coach at Sacramento State last year. Yeah. And now he moves back down to be the offensive coordinator at Colorado. Something just doesn't pass the sniff test on this for me. And not trying to be negative, but that's just an amazing amount of movement. As it relates to what he had to say, I don't know Colorado's offensive line to well enough to kind of debate this with Brennan Marion, but it's pretty obvious when you leave out the number 9 pick in the draft, you're leaving out a pretty big piece of the offensive line. And for him to say that Colorado's offensive line is still good, even when they lost Jordan Seaton this offseason to LSU, I think it just smells of, I don't want to say desperation, wishful thinking. How about that? You want to term it wishful thinking, Jerry Hamilton?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's they're big line as far as size goes. I mean, they're a big line. It doesn't mean they're going to be good, but they're a big line. And they did lose a first-round pick off that line to the portal, but they got a coach in the portal, so that's good. But look, I don't know. Let's see how this plays out over time. The Colorado team has the center, Demetrius Hunter, is a really good player. He's a good player coming out of, I believe it was C.E. King is where he played, saw him. But the Colorado offensive line as a whole, that's a pretty bold statement to me because there's a lot of guys who have moved around a lot on that lineup. Like Bo Hughley was recruited by Georgia. The guy who took over at left tackle was a Georgia recruit out of high school. But the center, Demetrius Hunter, may be in NFL camp one day. But it's a pretty bold statement. I mean, size-wise, if you go by height and weight, they're a bigger offensive line. But I think that's a pretty bold statement to make because there's quite a few guys on this offensive line that may not have had that type of career to where you can say that at this point.
Yeah, I personally think I'm in the camp with Katie Riley here. Name dropping Texas to try to be relevant. Why didn't he mention Hawaii or Pittsburgh or UNLV or one of those spots? Arizona State. Why didn't he name drop those? He's name dropping Texas to try to be relevant.
Yeah.
That's a fair assessment. And that's the only school that had a winning record, I think, while he was there. Maybe Pitt did.
Yeah.
For that 1 year.
So for people that haven't looked at Colorado's too deep, Bo Hewley, obviously Georgia, but hit the portal for a reason. Javon McFadden, the right guard, was I think at Ohio State, hit the portal for a reason. Larry Johnson, the right tackle, was Tennessee out of JUCO, hit the portal for a reason. So just to get a little background on this offensive line they've got, because that's a pretty bold statement. But yeah, it gets them a lot of attention. You know what it did? It got Brennan Marion in the news yesterday.
Yeah, that may be the primary. It's like I think Katie had it right.
Yeah,
name dropping to be relevant.
Yeah. And if you look at his resume, there's only one team he can really name drop and get attention. Texas. I mean, you say, hey, our wide receiver core is better than Hawaii in 2020. Nobody gives a rip. Yeah, we know DeAndre Moore and Danny Scudero is probably better than what Hawaii had in 2020. Yeah. Now his call to fame is Jordan Addison in 2021 at Pittsburgh. Yeah, that's when you look at his coaching history, there's only one team he can really reference and get attention. I think that's a great point in the chat.
All right. Well, we got a lot more to talk about this morning. But first, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everyone about Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam and the Lowy Law Firm have been helping injured Texans for 20 plus years, 21 years to be exact. Just celebrated that anniversary a couple months ago. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind and think you might be due compensation, make sure you reach out to Adam and his firm for a free, no strings attached consultation. That's right. Just free, no strings attached consultation. They'll let you know whether or not they think you're due compensation. That is LowyLawFirm.com. Again, LowyLawFirm.com. Thank you, Adam, for your ongoing sponsorship of On Texas Football and Texas Athletics.
Well, FTC Media Days are around the corner, fellas. And yesterday, the attendees from each school were announced. And for Texas guys, I don't think there's really any surprise here at all. But offensive lineman Trevor Gooseby, quarterback Arch Manning, and edge Colin Simmons will be making the trek out there. But both of y'all will be heading out there with them here before too long.
Why didn't they put us on the list? Bunch of crap. We're going to Tampa too. Golly. Yeah, I mean, look, it's everything you'd expect. The three, this was pretty easy when the call. There's some calls that are hard to make. This was a call that was easy to make. Obviously, Arch Manning, Colin Simmons, and Gooseby. There's very good reasons all three of these guys are going. I think, with Arch Manning and Colin Simmons, their first team, second team All-Americans. Arch is one of the faces of college football. I think Trevor Gooseby, Bobby, is a great spokesman for the University of Texas in this team, in Texas football. And I think he's very deserving. He's a very mature guy. And I think, look, Manning's going to be asked it's going to be interesting to see what people ask Arch Manning, because in the offseason was kind of slow for Arch, Bobby. There wasn't a lot of Arch talk in the offseason. It's about to rev up now. I think Sark kind of the whole Texas Tech thing, it kind of quieted probably any headlines about Arch, which Rod Babers, we've all talked about that before in a weird way that kept Arch stories and probably anything that people would have written out of the news or out of not being published, because the Texas Tech Sark talk, Sark Ole Miss talk kind of took center stage. So it's been a little quiet off season for Arch, which is great for Arch. And I'll be very interested to see what people ask him, because that could go a number of different ways, what the media is going to ask Arch next week.
Let's put it up to the chat, and y'all tell us what you think should be asked of Arch Manning. I have a really simple question for him personally. And I actually I've been thinking about what I'm going to ask these guys for a couple of days now. I just want to know, Arch, clearly articulate your goals for this season individually and as a team.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody knows what he's going to say as a team. Win a championship. And, maybe the best answer is I don't have individual goals. I just have team goals.
That's right.
But what do some of those look like for you?
Yeah.
And what is it like being a second-year starter in the SEC now that you've gone through the growth that you did a year ago? I think that I want to lean into that question a little bit with him. As it relates to Trevor Gooseby and talking about him being a representative of the University of Texas, I completely agree. Trevor, and he's doing it the right way. Came in as a 3-star type recruit. Maybe some people had him as a 4-star recruit, but has grown into a potential top 15 pick through the process. The other one is Colin Simmons. Colin Simmons is always fun to be around.
Yes.
In my opinion. And so I think he'll make some news. I don't know that he'll say anything outrageous, but if there was one to say something outrageous of that trio, it will be Colin Simmons.
No question.
Because we'll be on alert for that kind of thing. But, I look at this and I'm thinking to myself, the other group I want to hear from, frankly, is Ole Miss. And the reason I say Ole Miss is I think they have some guys that have been through it.
Oh, yeah.
To them and had a lot of success. Like I see Georgia's group and Bobo and Stockton, good players, Raylan Wilson. But I look at Ole Miss and I see 3 guys that are going to be, that have been through the wars a little bit. Will Eccles, good player.
Really good player.
LSU tried so hard to get him in the portal, they couldn't stop. So I put all of that in there and just say, there are a couple of teams I'm looking for. Texas, obviously, is one of them. My second team right now is Ole Miss. I just want to see how they're taking, because they've got the adults in the room on the player level. I want to see, with a new coach in Pete Golding, how that translates in this first year under him. Because I think it'll be honestly quite interesting.
Yeah, somebody asked me. I totally agree on Ole Miss. Those guys they national semifinalists and went to the wire. Those guys are going to have some great comments and what they've been through and kind of. And they've been asked those questions before, but I'll be interested to hear it on the big stage. Somebody asked about the Auburn kicker, Alex McPherson, a really good kicker. So I'm not making fun of him, but I kind of wonder if somebody said, "Hey, you're going to SEC Media Days." He said, "Are you sure this text was meant for me?" And what does that say for Auburn, Bobby? It's like, man, it's interesting. Somebody pointed out in the chat how many schools aren't bringing their quarterback to this. The other one I noticed that really kind of took me back and look is that Ahmad Hardy's not coming from Missouri, but the second team running back is. So what does that say for where Ahmad Hardy is right now? There's going to be some questions asked of Eli on that. People have mentioned that LSU not bringing obviously Sam Leavitt. Now, because I think Sam Leavitt can say some things that he can be a lot like Colin Simmons. Like he can say some things that can be taken as, oh, this guy's super confident and maybe he shouldn't say that as a quarterback. I think that's probably smart not to bring him, honestly. But Whit Weeks is a lot like Trevor Gooseby for LSU. He's gonna come out there and be a really good representative of LSU football. But I thought it was interesting that Ahmad Hardy, that Missouri's second team running back, is coming.
To our knowledge, he's still recovering from that gunshot wound. And so I think that it may be interesting, but maybe Jamal Roberts is one of the leaders of the team.
Yeah.
Would you have been surprised had Texas taken Roshan Johnson if to the media days had Bijan Robinson been shot in the butt like Ahmad Hardy? Well, I'm just asking, I wouldn't have been. So maybe he's that type of guy.
Yeah. But he is the star player of that team, is not going to be there. So yeah, no, it's I think Florida, like against Texas last year, Jaden Ball, Miles Graham. I would be interested. I'm going to be interested listening to those guys because I know CJ will ask something. I'll be standing with him if we're not on air, and I'm interested to see what those guys say about that game last year, what their thoughts were going into that game. And the other thing, the question I want to ask Arch, and it's going to be scripted answers because anything he takes is run with and a headline is made of it. But where exactly, what positions does he see as better than last year on this team? What positions does he think is better heading into the season? I think that's
He's not going to answer that, Jerry.
Come on.
He's not going to answer that. I mean, are you kidding me? Calling out his teammates?
No, that's just positionally. It's not saying you were bad.
Oh,
where have you improved? Where do you you're the quarterback of the team? Where do you think your team's better this year?
I think that's going to be, I think we're going to be strong at. He can't necessarily. He's not going to say better than. I mean, what are you supposed to say there? You're going to say, oh, tight end's better. Well, Jack Andrews was pretty good last year.
Yeah.
Oh, wide receiver is definitely better this year, but, we're going to throw DeAndre Moore and Parker Livingston under the bus?
Oh, yeah.
No, I mean, it's just
not the way. He won't use the headlines, but I think it's a great question to ask.
Not if you're not going to elicit an answer. It's a great question if you're going to elicit an answer, but he's not going to tell you that.
No.
I'll let you ask it, and
I will.
You'll get we're going to have a good team this year, and I like all of our spots.
Yeah.
I want a real question that elicits an answer, Jerry.
Yeah. Well,
I'm challenging you now, Jerry.
That's the number one question that a quarterback should answer. Where is your team better this year versus a year ago? Isn't the same question going to be asked to Sark? Is he throwing his former players under the bus?
No, I think Sark will answer, but a player's not going to, nor should he.
I disagree.
Oh, okay.
I disagree. Like it's not throwing it's not throwing your former players under the bus to say, look, our receiver core is better, and this is why. Our tight ends this year are going to be a better group, and this is why. That's not being mean to ex-teammates or players that played there. Look, are you better? Where are you better? You're the leader of the team. You see it every day.
All right. Real quick.
Blake's kind of like, I just agree. We'll just have to agree to disagree, Jerry. I'll put it that way.
Aspen85, thanks for the super chat. Says Kiffin bringing his son, Weeks, I believe, David's daughter there for a little bit.
Yeah. Whatever.
And then real quick here, Matty Light, the move of the future, bringing the kicker, punter, and long snapper. You guarantee media days doesn't become a distraction, possibly ruin media days.
The best of all time, in my opinion, on media days was Bill Snyder, the old Kansas State coach. He didn't show up. He did his by what was then a Zoom-like appearance one year.
Yeah.
That's Bill. But Bill Snyder did not want to be, he did not want to have that distraction. So that was Bill Snyder. Look, the thing with the kicker, bring him like Auburn did, Matt asked me and tells me, Jerry, like, who else you got on your team?
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you're bringing your kicker, you must not think you have another all-conference caliber player or something. I mean, it's odd. I'll put it that way. There will not be a large line for the kicker to be interviewed.
No.
Yeah.
No. I think you just got a big NIL deal, right, for a kicker? Pretty sure I saw that.
All right. Let's see. I believe our guest is ready. I think he was having some connection issues earlier, but I believe he's good to go. Tony, we're going to bring you in and check it out. Good morning, Tony Hills.
Man, I hope y'all can hear me, bro. Can y'all hear me clearly?
We got you.
Oh, man, dude, I am not a technical person, but today I feel like I got my degree from MIT, man. I done had to go in settings, upload, download, preload, load. We doing all types of load. But that's all right. I got my coffee. I'm out here on this beautiful golf course out here in Orlando. Wake up, coffee and football. We here. What's happening? What we talking about?
Your golf game?
Oh, man, you know. When people start off their sentence with Jerry, that should tell you all you need to know.
Hey, Tony, we're putting up the offensive 2 deep today for you from the national championship team you were on. And I wanted to just ask you, kind of talk to you about this because kind of look, we're 20 years in, right? 21 years this year from the national championship team. But we've been talking about the Texas team leading up to SEC Media Days, the high ranking, all the players on the team. I kind of wanted to ask you some questions about the team you played on. Okay. Offensive line wise, we've talked about this before, but okay. Most physical guy, most cerebral guy. Who was your leader on that offensive line as we start looking at a 26 season and really start trying to dissect and look at where an offensive line is going, where a position is going?
So the question is, who was the leader of the offensive line?
Who was your leader? Who was your most physical player?
Yeah.
In the run game? Who was the guy that was better than people thought? Just kind of your thoughts on the offensive line.
Got it. So the interesting part about that question is, unlike any other room that I've been in, you couldn't directly say this guy is the leader of the entire offensive line. It was a collective, which was really what made the unit special. Now I will tell you who was the most vocal. That was going to be Casey Studdard, who was one of the most physical. I got to give it to Casey Studdard, right? So when you look at it as it pertains to the style of play and who set the tempo or the tone of that line, absolutely Casey Studdard. But if you looked at who showed you how to be a pro and who showed you how to be consistent, that was going to be Justin Blaylock, right? And if you looked at somebody who taught you how to leverage the aspect of technical skill as well as understanding the nuances of the game, that was going to be Jonathan Scott. So all in all, it was a collective thing.
I look at this list, the offensive line. 4 of 5 played multiple years in the NFL.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, Lyle Sinline, we had Lyle's dad on yesterday with us, Robin Sinline.
Phenomenal player. Player. Man, that guy doesn't miss when it comes to setting the offense up, man. Cerebral guy.
Yep. My question for you on this, is as we look at this grouping of offensive linemen overall, do you think Texas has this sort of depth? I mean, you were the only backup that I think that played. You were the only backup that played in the NFL.
Everybody, welcome. What you like?
So, hold on, they're getting out here, guys. Give me a second. All right. So, are you saying now does Texas have that offensive depth?
Yeah. Do they have 4 out of 5 NFL players on the offensive line? And then do they actually have more depth behind that group, perhaps? You're the only one in that 2 deep outside of the starters that played in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, look, you look at Gooseby. I mean, obviously that's a shoe-in. They're already talking about where they project him. I believe depending on how Baker shows up, he'll have an opportunity. It's hard to answer that question with knowledge because I haven't really seen outside of the clips the other individuals play. I mean,
right.
when you're talking about projection, you would assume that somebody like a Melvin Siani who has as many snaps as he has, and a Seymour who has as many snaps as they have, and they played at a high level, you would assume that they would have an opportunity to go. But I mean, I felt very strong about Big Cam, the right tackle, a couple years ago, and man, he went all the way to the 6th round. So it's always interesting to see what these teams are looking for. I think from a talent perspective, I think talent-wise, there's the guys that I mentioned are the guys that I would say from a talent perspective have the opportunity. Outside of that, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Hey, Tony, On this offense, who was the best player that was the least talked about?
The best player that was the least talked about.
Yeah, on this team, on this offense, for you.
David Thomas.
David Thomas. And see,
David Thomas. Listen, David Thomas was like the fact that this man is not talked about enough baffles me. Like, I don't really think they understand that. I'm going to say this: there's no national championship without a David Thomas, because you got to think about this. What you saw, it's kind of like when you look at LeBron James and he has all of the sizzle plays, but everybody forgets that the reason why he's able to hit the game winner is because of the things that the team was doing around him. That's David Thomas. When you go back and watch that game against USC, look how many big third down catches that Vince went to David Thomas from, and he came up big on those catches. Yeah. Like, this guy was a phenomenal player. When you look at some of those runs that Jamal had, that Stoney had, aka Selvin, that those guys had, go back and watch David Thomas on those lead blocks and see him kicking guys out, throwing his body around. Actually, another thing you would look at too, look at how he's drawing coverage away to give Swede and those guys and Quan and those guys an opportunity to get open. Like, he was a true threat. And look, here's the thing. When you talk about his talent level, drafted by New Orleans, used them the same way, came up big the same way, Super Bowl champion. Like, they do not talk about David Thomas enough in my eyes.
And the reason I'm asking all these questions, Tony, is because, look, teams, it's easy in the offseason to talk about the talent on a roster and the talent on the team. But all these things we're talking about is actually what builds the team and makes them who they are. And that's why I like to ask you questions. You were on a team that was a national championship team. And we always talk about, oh, Texas has got this guy out of the portal, signed this guy in high school. But how does that all come together and make the team? Because everybody has roles that win, and everybody has to come together on the same page with different roles and be accepting of roles in the day and age when you're being really highly paid from an NIL standpoint. So I love asking you about all of this, because you know it's really what's going to decide this season. At the end of the day, it's the talent alone doesn't decide the season. It's how does it all come together and build the team, and who's going to be those key guys and key moments.
Correct. I'll say this too. One of the things that you sparked something when you said what you said. When I look at David Thomas and I look at a Justin Blaylock, what you see are quiet leaders. Who are the quiet leaders on the team when everything is going crazy that you can look to and say these guys are going to step up, right? Like, who are the guys, irregardless of what's happening around them, stay cool, calm, collected, and they go and they execute? Who are those individuals? Because the thing is, when everything's going well and it's flashy, everybody can get out, can get off. You know what I mean? Like, we're up. But when you're in the heat of battle, who are the guys that you can lean on and say, hey, we're running this ball to the right. Justin's over there. We know he's going to catch that block. We're going to get outside zone. We know he's going to get the outside shoulder, that end. He's going to get the outside shoulder, that back, and we're going to get those 3 yards. Hey, you know what? It's 3rd and 7. We know that they're going to double the outside receivers. We're going to DT on this. We know he's going to make that play. Who are those guys, right? And that's yet to be proven. And I believe as hype as it is for you to gain talent, like, we know that Texas gains talent, but I keep saying this, and I'm going to stand on this. If anybody is listening to me about what it takes for Texas to get to the national championship and win it, it has nothing to do with talent. It has everything to do with situational football, making the play time and time and time again on both sides of the ball in special teams, so that when you have to have that play, everybody is going to watch this season. You're going to find yourself watching for that play. That's the play that Texas has to consistently make. And that's the play that they haven't been consistently making. So we can accumulate talent. We're freaking Texas. Who doesn't want to play in the SEC? Who doesn't want to come to Austin? Who doesn't want to be see themselves on TV every freaking game? Like, everything's bigger in Texas. You're going to get the likes. You're going to get the looks. But to get the execution and to get the championship, that is something that goes beyond talent. That is chemistry. That is heart. That is want to. That is an undying will to say that irregardless of what is happening, we are not walking off this field without the victory. Until you have that mentality, and it's not something that you just speak on. You got to go so improve week in and week out. Until you have that, you don't have the hardware.
Wow. I think that's a great response because look, my article this morning on Texas Football was about how Texas has done a great job, not just of attracting players from the portal, of recruiting high school players, but also retention. And all three of those things combined, Tony, in my opinion, to make this as talented a roster as Texas has had in 20 years, roughly.
Right.
Maybe since, you were on it. I think that the ball still is going to bounce odd ways. Yep. And one of the things you mentioned about David Thomas and his ability to make clutch plays, and I think he did not drop a pass that hit his hands in 2005. Not a single one all year. I think he had, 50 some odd receptions, whatever it was. I think that those sorts of reliability or people that are reliable make the great players look even better. And to your point, I think that David Thomas went on and had a nice career in the NFL. There are a lot of guys like that on that team that weren't necessarily the focal points, but they were reliable and talented. And I think that there have been times at Texas where they haven't been talented enough. There's been times where they haven't been reliable enough. There's times when they haven't been both.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so I think that you're tying something in that, look, we could focus on talent all we want. The reality of it, it's all in the doing.
There you go.
That's a great point.
It's Jordan Whittington as the third wide receiver.
That guy. Those are the guys. That's the reincarnation of a David Thomas. That's what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
From an offensive line perspective, it's 3rd and inches, right? Like, think about it. You look at the games that we were extremely close in, knocking on the door. Where did we fail, right? What's the difference between championship not going and championship winning? It's a game of inches. Our defense stops USC. How many inches? Inches. We don't get in against Ohio State. We were on the goal line. How many inches?
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, when you're at that level, when you're playing for that, when you're playing for a championship, when you're playing for greatness, it's not yards. It's inches.
Yeah.
And that is a mentality. Yes, there's talent involved, but that is a mentality. If you look at Indiana's offensive line, which one of those guys would you say, man, this guy's extremely talented? It's not that.
Yeah.
There's a belief, there's a want to, and there's a will to win. And if Texas has that installed in that locker room, then we're going to be some very happy people on the outside at the end of the year. If it's just a team full of talent, guess what? There's going to be some exciting plays happen, and there's going to be heartbreak. So for me, as we continue to build this roster, we continue to see what they have to offer. Look, I'm excited about all the pieces that we have. Who wouldn't be? Everybody gets excited when they get a new car, right? Yeah. But the car still got to be driven and tested. And so that's what I'm looking at. I'm going to reserve my judgment until I can see who these guys are in pressure situations. I'm not looking for the games where they're going to steamroll people. I'm looking for the games where, hey, now it's good on good. Who makes the plays? No excuses, no explanations, only results. Go ahead, Bobby.
There's going to be a lot of good on good this year.
A lot of good on good, which is perfect.
A lot.
Because if they come out on this, if they come out on top in this schedule, then now we're going to be talking about more than them being national championships. Now we're going to have to talk about, are they the greatest team that has ever came out of Texas? Seeing the fact of the competition that they played and how they overcame all of that and still won a natty. You're going to have that conversation if they do that.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Tony. And I go back, and again, that's why I want to bring this up. Silas Bolden chasing down a fumbled ball in the end zone and jumping on it.
Yep.
Who are going to be those players on this Texas team that are going to come out of nowhere and be that player, or prove to be those winning time players that aren't the stars?
Yep.
Because that is really what's going to define this team this season. I totally believe that, Tony. Who's going to make the key play in 2 or 3 games? I think they're going to have a lot of close games because of the schedule.
Yep.
Guys are going to have to come up and make plays that maybe aren't counted on right now to make those plays for this team, are not being talked about. Who's that going to be? Because when you play a schedule this tough and you have the expectations Texas does, so many times it comes down to one play in one game made by one game player, one play made in another game by another player. That's really what's going to define this season in the wins and losses for me.
Hey, man, brother, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for guys that have no name to make one, for sure.
Tony,
thank you so much for joining us, buddy. We appreciate
Absolutely,
your
man.
time in Orlando.
Man, we'll do, man. Hook 'em forever. Let's go.
hey, it's more humid there than Texas, I'll tell you that.
Oh, man, listen, I'm over here dripping like a water faucet, but that's all right, though. We're going to have fun today.
Good luck, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
All right, guys. Later.
I tell people all the time, as somebody from Houston that lived in the Sunshine State, so spent a lot of time in Florida doing work nationally over the years. It's more humid there. Orlando's one of the most humid places I've ever been. That humidity is different. Hold your golf club, baby. Your grip's going to be a little tight on the golf club today because of the humidity. It forces it to be.
All right, guys. We got more to talk about. We got to get to more of your questions. But first, Jerry, I'm going to let you tell everyone how they can vibecast with Zen AI.
Oh, yeah, we can definitely do that this summer. Don't just watch the game, vibecast it. Zen AI is the home of vibecasting, a new way to capture and share real sports conversations. No studio, no fancy gear. Your phone is the whole setup. Arguing about who should have taken the last shot, breaking down every play, hit record, take it out, and Zen AI turns that convo into a sportscast you can share as clips, reels, and even TikToks. An AI producer works behind the scenes, cleaning up audio, cutting highlights, and helping you tweak edits just by chatting in plain English. Go live when the game is on and record super hot takes afterwards. Bring your own co-host or find another fan in Zen AI's network. This summer, Zen AI is paying new Vibecasters to launch their first sportscast. Humans are the talent. AI is the infrastructure. Zen AI is invite only. Head to zen.ai to join the wait list. That's zen.ai or tap the link in our show notes.
Thank you, Jerry. And I'm going to tell everyone this morning about our friends over at HexClad. Love me some HexClad. And listen up, fellas. Summer cooking is officially in session. We're talking steaks on a random Tuesday, burgers for the boys, breakfast before a long day outside, and those nights when one friend stops by and then suddenly you're cooking for an entire crew. Everybody loves talking about the grill, but your pans are still doing a ton of the heavy lifting. And if your cookware sticks, burns everything, heats unevenly, or makes cleanup feel like a full contact sport, it's not helping you become a better cook. It's just making your life harder. Well, make your life easier with HexClad. That's where they come in. These pans are phenomenal. They're metal utensil safe. They're dishwasher safe. They're extremely easy to wipe clean. You don't even have to baby these pans. They're oven safe up to 900 degrees, and the Stay Cool stainless steel handles mean you're not grabbing a scorching hot handle every time you cook. Every HexClad product is backed by a lifetime warranty, so these are the last pans you'll ever have to buy. And there's a reason that Gordon Ramsay uses HexClad at home and in his restaurant, and that guy is the toughest critic on the planet. So don't go through another summer with cookware that makes every meal harder than it needs to be. For a limited amount of time, our listeners get 10% off your order with our exclusive link. Just head to hexclad.com/ontexas. Support our show. Check them out. HexClad, HEXCLAD.com/ontexas. Make sure to let them know that On Texas Football sent you. HexClad's good stuff, man.
It is.
Right. It really is. Let's see here. We got some more super chats that we need to get to. This one here from CJ Horn. Will Ole Miss be a tougher game than LSU?
If this were on a neutral field, I would say yes. If y'all can't tell from the way I've been talking the last couple of months, I'm a big believer in Ole Miss just because of their personnel. Now, I know they lost some guys in the portal to LSU, no less, but I feel like Ole Miss was on the cusp of something last year, really special with that quarterback in the running game they had. Now they lose one of those two things, and I think they may not have the margin for error that an LSU or Texas has with the personnel, but. You know, if this game were on a neutral site or in Oxford compared to Austin, I would probably agree with that. However, Texas also not only plays Ole Miss at home, they play LSU on the road. And given that, this is going to be first time Texas has been to Baton Rouge, and it's going to probably be at night.
Yeah.
And I can't sit here and tell you that which one's going to be harder. I think it depends on a couple of things. One, is Ole Miss clicking at that point in the year? Do they have a defense? And, is LSU getting things put together?
Yeah.
Because if LSU is getting things put together, I think that's going to be a tougher game. I do think, though, that the intelligence of the Ole Miss team was pretty strong with Chambliss at quarterback. They made a lot of the right decisions, in my opinion, with him.
Yeah, I think there's so much unknown about LSU going into this season. Looking at, they're going to have a couple of freshman defensive linemen. I wish Texas, the LSU game was reversed with Tennessee in the schedule. You'd love to play LSU week
Early.
4, early. But I'll tell you what's interesting about LSU to me when you just look at, okay, what could Lane do with the roster that he's built in year one? Bobby, we talked about all the running backs, and this is why maybe quietly I think LSU is going to be a problem if he puts this thing together late in the year. And I'm not saying Texas is going to lose the game, but LSU is going to a lot of talent. They just got to bring it together. Look, we talked about the running backs Texas is facing. Do you think Lane Kiffin can do some work with Caden Durham and Harlem Berry's speed at running back in his offense? What are those good guys going to look like late in the year in his offense? They got a kid, Eugene Wilson, out of the portal from Florida, who's had injury issues. I saw him in high school, and that guy was like a surefire NFL player, but he's been hurt the whole time. What if they get a healthy year out of him on this team, right? So, I mean, they got some unknowns on their team. But obviously they have an elite tight end talent. So with Lane, but those two running backs, how is he going to maximize them? Because that's probably the most explosive running back combo in the SEC. Harlem Berry has got juice, and we all know Caden Durham. Like, if Lane Kiffin gets those guys in space and favorable matchups in the passing game and in space, they're going to be an explosive offense because of those two guys. I mean, that's what's going to be interesting. And then I'll say this for LSU too. I think we talk about, because there's such an unknown with them, but I'll tell you what's a known with LSU. Their corner combo, it may be as good as there is in the SEC. And both those guys are returning. DJ Pickett's a future star. I mean, he's one of those rare 6'4" guys that can actually play corner at a high level. A guy Texas tried to recruit out of Zephyr Hills and down in Tampa area, but they couldn't. It wasn't going to happen, but they tried. And then PJ Woodland, who Texas soft offered, never made a push for. He's out of Mississippi. He's a pro. So their corners are really good, and now in a second year under Baker's system. That's the thing. The linebackers, the secondary, 3 of those secondary guys are all going to be in year 2. And they bring in Ty Benefield, who is really good out of Boise at safety. So I think the biggest question with LSU on defense is their D line. How's that going to come together? Their transfer guys, Prince William, that's going to be familiar. But Jordan Ross out of Tennessee, Malik Blockton, the guy Texas offered and would have taken out of Alabama, who transferred in from Auburn. Then there's Dominic McKinley, who should be a really good player going into year 3. They got a couple of freshmen. Their freshman D line class is really good. It's going to be like Richard Anderson we saw last year, the kid that Texas offered, Deuce Gerald out of Collins Hill. A lot of people, and then some people didn't take him because he was 6'1.5". The old, hey, Byron Murphy rule once again, because apparently Deuce is really good at LSU. So how that defensive line comes together, but their secondary is going to be good. And their running backs in Lane Kiffin's offense have a chance to be very explosive. I think that's going to be interesting to watch that team and how he can pull it together. I'd have rather played them the week of Tennessee than late in the season. I'll tell you that.
So do you think LSU is going to be more dangerous than Ole Miss?
Until it's proven the new offensive coordinator play caller for Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin's proven.
Yeah, I got you. That's fair.
Lane's proven. I mean, Lane went in. Like, how many people have ever gone into Georgia in the Kirby era? None, and scored touchdowns on their first 5 possessions. You're a high-level freaking play caller and offensive coach when you do that. I don't care what your talent is. So he's got some pieces. It's going to just depend on how it all comes together for him. Because if he has the pieces and he starts clicking, he's really tough to go against as a play caller.
All right, guys. Well, at the beginning of the show here, I mentioned that we are 52 days away from kickoff. So I'm going to put up a few number 52s and I actually put a poll in the chat. So we'll see what the chat thinks about who is the reigning 52 champion. But a few to mention: Sam Cosmi, Charlie Tanner, and DJ Campbell. All three of those guys, obviously offensive linemen. But they headline our 52s. And then the current number 52 is defensive lineman James Johnson out of Miami, the freshman.
I'll start with James Johnson because there's been questions on him. He was in a car wreck his senior year. I was down there at Miami Northwestern. He was still playing. It happened right after that. Then he got into a car accident, and people were worried for a while about him health-wise. And it wasn't life-threatening, but just health-wise with football. And he is almost back to 100%. I don't think he's quite at 100%. He's getting closer. He's going to redshirt this year. He needs a development time. He's very raw. But he won't be talked about this year, so this is a good time to talk about. He is extremely talented. You want to talk about a guy, if he puts it together, he's extremely talented. James Johnson's really gifted. And Texas has been working to get him back healthy after that car accident he had. But he's checked some boxes in Austin, but you probably won't see it this year. He needs that development year, but he's very athletically gifted for a 285, what will be 305-pound player. He's got a chance if he sticks with it, Bobby.
Jerry, I look at it, and this group of guys, all interior offensive line except for Cosmi. Cosmi's still playing in the NFL. Charlie Tanner was a glue guy. DJ Campbell, glue guy. I hope he makes the team here coming up as he's getting ready to start his NFL career. But to your point about James Johnson, what I was told is that he has been working hard this offseason. We did not see him much in spring ball, but I'm told that he has not given up. He's actually done some good stuff this spring, after this spring, actually, that gives them some hope that he's still going to be a player. So we'll see where it goes. But I like DJ Campbell a lot. Y'all know that. Liked his tenacity from day one. But Sam Cosmi is that Atascocita offensive line tree that he was kind of the starter of it at Texas. Jason Glenn was a center at Texas, number 52 as well. Forrest Wiegand, the former LaPorte coach, played at Texas, was number 52 apparently as well.
Yeah, for those that don't know Cosmi's history, he was about 150 to 165 ranked player in the state of Texas coming out. And the one thing about Atascocita is they produce offensive linemen. That staff, when Craig Stump obviously recently retired, and his offensive line coach did a tremendous job. Physical demands in that program, physical district they played against. You got to be physical against North Shore. But it's interesting to look back at that class and where Sam Cosmi was. Obviously committed to Houston, then flipped his commitment to Texas after Tom Herman and staff moved over there. So sometimes we have fun with old Tom, but that was a big win for Tom Herman and staff with the evaluation of Sam Cosmi and then the development that followed it. But he was ranked. He was the 105th ranked offensive lineman in the country in that class, offensive tackle in that class. So Sam Cosmi, absolutely a talent maximizer.
And I got the results that I put up for the poll here. Cosby running away with it 60%. Tanner got 8%. DJ Campbell got 29%. And then I asked those that did other to specify in the chat, and we brought them both up. So looks like Jason Glenn, and then the other one that you mentioned. The name escapes me, Jerry. or Bobby. I can't remember the other. Oh, here we go. Forrest.
Forrest Wiegand.
Yeah. So there we go. But Cosme is the champ today, it looks like.
I well deserved, I think, at least from the 2000s and on. I think that's well deserved. He should be.
We got more super chats this morning. Terrence Jones. Thank you, Terrence. He says, hey, guys, I know this is off topic, but whatever happened to wide receiver number 13, Brennan Eagles, after he declared for the NFL draft? Did he get drafted?
No.
And he did not get drafted. He did a UDFA deal with the Cowboys, undrafted free agent, and then also had a tryout with the Packers, but never stuck.
Hamilton Tiger Cats are one of my favorite teams for obviously reasons.
He is
I didn't get a jersey. Yeah, Brennan Eagles wasn't fast. I would say he wasn't going to test well. He needed to have really good tape, but to get past the lack of testing that he was going to have. And it was interesting to look back on that class and some of the guys that, Texas didn't take, but this was a case of a player who absolutely should have stayed. Absolutely should have stayed. Or gone somewhere else.
I go back to his recruitment and think about it all the time. He's really highly touted coming out. And the one thing about him is you could watch his tape and he wasn't open very often.
Right.
Like he wasn't like 2 or 3 yards open.
He wasn't ripping past coverage, even.
Right. It was very interesting, but because he had all the physical tools now. He's big. He could run. He just wasn't a nuanced receiver. And it kind of, that's kind of how he ended up.
Yep.
Frankly.
Yep.
He couldn't run by you. What's he going to do?
Yep.
I'm going to get to some more super chats in just a moment, but I need to tell everyone about Prize Picks this morning because there are a lot of ways to watch sports. You can sit back, you can check the score, maybe flip between some games, or you can have something riding on every swing, every shot, every touch, every possession, and that is where Prize Picks comes in. The summer sports calendar is loaded right now. Baseball is rolling. The WNBA has been a blast, and the World Cup is winding down. And Prize Picks gives you a simple way to make all of it more interesting. You're just looking at player projections and then deciding one thing, more or less. That's it. You build your lineup, you submit your picks, and now you're locked in from the first whistle to the final out. And I'll put our picks on the screen this morning. We're in on World Cup and WNBA action today since baseball is actually off today. We got Messi with more than half a shot on target. And then Caitlin Clark to have more than 15.5 points. She's had a little slip in her production lately, but she has fared well against Golden State this season. So we're going with her. And that's what makes Prize Picks fun. You make your read, you trust your read, you make the call, and suddenly every little moment matters. And don't forget, Prize Picks is available in all 50 states, including Texas. So download the app, use code HMA when you sign up, play $5 in lineups, and then they're going to give you $50 in lineups instantly. Again, that's code HMA when you download the Prize Picks app. $5 gets you $50 in lineups. And as always, play smart, play responsibly, play Prize Picks. And
Blake, can you bring that list? Can you bring the Caitlin Clark line? Yeah. So what does that little green devil mean?
That's a goblin. So that's like they give you a little bit better odds, or they feel like it's more likely to.
Can I just say this? Okay, if people ever want to know why I'm not the biggest soccer fan, Lionel Messi or Lionel Messi, however you say it, is supposed to be the greatest player in the world, or at least one of the top handful, right?
All time.
Of all time. They're actually gambling on whether or not he even takes a single shot the whole game.
Shot on target.
Shot on target or shot off target?
Shot on target.
So like not actually scores a goal, but actually just shoots the ball, just kicks the ball towards the goal. No, he doesn't have to make it.
So
that's my point, though. What if I told you that Arch Manning has to throw 10 passes? I mean,
you can pick more on that.
But I know, but that's my point is like when people legitimately, and I'm not a hater on soccer. That's the problem I have. You have the world's greatest player and you're debating whether or not he's even going to take a shot that game.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a different sport and all that stuff, and I'm supposed to understand and appreciate the nuances. That's hard for me. This old crotchety dude. So
my thoughts on soccer has always been that's a hell of a lot of running for very few results.
it is a lot of running.
Like I know you win a game, but I'm always like, man, that is like I'd be thin if I did it. I'll give you that, but that's a hell of a lot of energy put forth over an hour and a half to maybe score.
I saw my son played it, and I was just, I mean, game after game after game where he just jogged and sprinted and then jogged. I was like, how in the hell? I mean, it's a more endurance sport than basketball, in my opinion, for example.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. The abs
you gotta appreciate that.
That's exactly. Abs are the results. That's probably why I should go play pickup soccer somewhere today and tomorrow and the rest of the week. I should go start playing pickup soccer. Abs in a month.
I got news for you, Jerry. Just because you do it doesn't mean you're going to end up with abs.
Well, if you have Ms. Baird's donuts right after, if that's how you celebrate your 1-goal win.
I think you go celebrate at Hayes City Store, Jerry.
Well, you can celebrate anything at Hayes City Store, man. There are very few restaurants in which you go to. You immediately know they're just special. Hayes City Store is one of those places for me. True story. It's scratch-made Texas comfort food. They got the famous truck stop enchiladas, award-winning chicken fried steak, and homemade desserts. All of it's absolutely delicious. All of it is from scratch. There's also live music 6 nights a week with 50 beer taps, ice-cold long necks, and tasty margaritas. There are 13 TVs alone in their ice house, perfect for game days, and they even have brunch served from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every Sunday. Hayes City Store is dog-friendly, and they have a tree net for kids. Join the folks at Hayes City Store and bring your whole crew. For more information, check out the website at HayesCityStoreTX.com. Hayes City Store, it's uniquely Texas. But one thing I will say about soccer, you can score 1 goal a game and you're the most highly paid athlete in the world. In the world. Pretty good place to be.
All right. Speaking of using your feet to kick a ball, we have a
Oh, no, are we
chat
talking
here.
kicking?
This is up your alley, Jerry Hamilton. You better be ready to go for this one. Boski says, with as many games expected to be close this year, what are your guys' thoughts on our kickers? No one talks about that part of our special teams.
Hold on. I decided the other day for any kicking talk, I'm going to move to the left of the screen so I'm off the right hash because I have PTSD. So I'm talking from the left side of the screen. Look, I think, Bobby, I believe that there's going to be, what were there 2 games last year that came down to Mason Shipley making really key kicks?
Kentucky for sure. I mean,
yeah. And I think there's going to be a couple of games that are going to come down to this. It's too tough of a schedule. Texas is playing too good of offensive players on this schedule. People are going to score points against you, even if you're a really good defense on this schedule. And it's going to come down to there's going to be a couple of games that really are going to come down to a kick. And Spedic is going to walk out on the field, and the result of a game, whether you win it or go to overtime, is probably going to come down to one of his kicks twice. And I think that's one of the things that has to be proven out because Mason Shipley didn't miss from 30 to 49 yards last year. I mean, and that is one thing that was Shipley really came through for Texas. And with this offense, Bobby, Spedic shouldn't be dependent on 50-plus yard field goals. You should be able to get into that 30 to 49-yard range for him. And so how is he going to deliver from that 30 to 49-yard range? I think that's going to be huge for this team this year because there's going to be close games.
Spedic was 15 of 20 last year, so he's 75%, Jerry. The thing that you're talking about there is how's he going to be from 30 to 49? Well, he was only 3 of 6 from 40 to 49.
Yeah.
But he was 4 of 5 from 50 plus.
He's got a rocket.
Yeah. But overall, he actually spent his first 2 seasons at Ohio University, for those unaware, before transferring to Memphis last year. Big deal for him is he's a career 75% guy. Through I think 74.5 or something like that through his first 3 years in college. So I don't know how much more you're going to get out of him, if that makes sense. Like, is he going to, if he's a career 75% guy, you might get him to 80. You're probably not going to get him to 85 to 90, right? So I think that, to your point, he's going to have to make some field goals. Is he going to be Mason Shipley between 30 and 49 yards last year, who was absolutely perfect, basically? No, he's not. I think thinking he will be is probably asking for too much. But I think there's probably going to be a field goal in Knoxville, a field goal in Baton Rouge, a field goal on the floor of the Cotton Bowl that have to be made by the kicker at the University of Texas. And that young man's going to be Gianni Spedic.
Yeah. And by the way, with these guys, they have experience, but running out in front of, because of where you've been, 100,000 people on a top 5 ranked team with the kick winning the game is a different pressure than he's ever kicked under. And obviously it's the challenge he wants, but that is a different pressure than he's ever kicked under. So that's another piece. I hope Texas puts up a lot of points against Texas State, but I honestly wouldn't mind if he had a couple of field goal attempts early in the game one to kind of get his feet wet before the Ohio State game, kicking at the University of Texas in front of 100,000 plus sold out fans. I hope he gets a couple of field goal attempts in that Texas State game before you roll right into Ohio State next year. I don't want that to be his first attempt at Texas. So I hope it's early in the game when they're really meaningful.
I don't. I hope they run away with that, and he gets to work on his leg as an extra point guy. I don't like. I mean, look, Texas has 3 non-conference games, all with really good quarterbacks.
Yep.
All with really good quarterbacks, and so I want you to score touchdowns early against Texas State and UTSA to put more pressure on those quarterbacks and those teams to perform. Otherwise, you're just giving them more shots on goal. Lionel Messi. I mean, you don't want to give McCown and Brad Jackson more shots on goal, or especially not Julian Sayin. I'm a little bit different than Jerry on that.
All right, our next super chat this morning is for you, Bobby, and it comes from Longhorn Frenzy. He says, "Good morning, fellas. Bobby, you mentioned yesterday in your article on OTF about possible news. Give us a hint."
Not doing it until something comes out about it, and I promised somebody I wouldn't. So y'all got to stop. If it doesn't come to pass, I will definitely tell you what it was. But as of right now, it's still on path.
And then we have a super chat from Milo. Says Cristiano Ronaldo is the GOAT, and Dallas has some of the best youth soccer in America. You're missing out.
Okay. I mean, look, I have no doubt that it's a great sport. I have friends. I'm on a group chat right now where they can't get friends of mine from college can't stop talking about it. So I have no problem believing that it's a great sport. It's just not for me. I mean, I'm to Jerry's point where I can appreciate watching some of what these guys do. It's just not for me. Doesn't mean I'm right, but don't try to, don't try to get me convinced that it's somehow something that's not for me. I don't fake like that.
All right, we got one other super chat to get to, but first, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everyone one more time about Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, and think you might be due compensation, reach out to Adam and his firm. They'll give you a free, no strings attached consultation to see if you might be due compensation. Again, ATV, 18-wheeler, everything and anything in between. Reach out to Adam and his firm over at LoweyLawFirm.com. They've been helping injured Texans for 20 plus years. Thanks to Adam for his ongoing sponsorship of On Texas Football. He's also a sponsor of the state of the program, and that will be coming up here in about an hour or two. Jerry Hamilton, myself, and Rod Baber is going to sit down and talk a little macro
Soccer.
Texas football issues, not soccer. Talk a little football issues with about the University of Texas.
All right, Juan Garza with the super chat. Any recruiting updates?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's 2 days out from Monson sales. Everybody's going one way or the direction. Nobody's changed their picks on that. They put them out early. Landon Williams-Callis still think that Texas. We've heard nothing to back off our intel and thoughts that Texas is in a really good spot for Landon Williams-Callis. Now we're waiting on a date when he is going to announce a decision. Does that mean an upset can't happen? It doesn't. But we feel good about where Texas is at, as we have for a while there. With sales, look, I mean, where I come out on the recruitment is Texas is right there. It's an Indiana or Texas decision. We put that out a couple of weeks ago. That's where that was trending. There's going to be 5 hats at the table or whatever he does on the McAfee show. Probably won't be hats. But look, I think I'm going to continue this with sales. Is, Indiana has every reason to win that recruitment, Bobby, except one. Sales didn't grow up dreaming of wearing an Indiana uniform. And Indiana's got to get over that. They've had to work to get over that hurdle. He's been on campus multiple times. He was at their national championship parade. He's had a long time to commit to Indiana. And I know that you're going to go through the OV process. You're going to maximize NIL through visits and all that sort of stuff. But look, Texas has a legit shot. They've had a legit shot. One thing I will say about this recruitment is there's not any deciding right now. He knows where he's going. And I think he originally was going to announce his on July 10th, but I think the McAfee show was on hiatus, and now he's going to announce on the 17th. That's where he was going to announce his decision. It makes the most sense in the world. He's the highest ranked prospect out of the Indianapolis area, maybe since McAfee's been doing the show there. And so he was going to announce in studio on the McAfee show. That was going to happen. But I think Texas has done everything they can in this recruitment. I think Sales and his family really like the University of Texas. The question is going to be, Bobby, does he – Indiana's been on him so long, and there's such an expectation for Indiana to win this recruitment. Does Sales go a different direction at the end of the day? Because he's always had schools in the South on his mind.
A lot of positive momentum for Indiana surrounding their program in the last 2 years. And facts are he's in Indianapolis. It's going to be a tough pull. If Texas were to somehow get Monshon Sales in this commitment that happens on Friday, it would be huge, absolutely enormous. He is one of the top 5-10 players in the country. But I'm telling you now, there is a lot of momentum in and around Indianapolis in particular for him to go to Indiana. I'm not going to sit here and, sugarcoat it. I just think it's going to be a tough pull for Texas. Hopeful, but anything more than a 50-50 thought process right now is really going too far, in my opinion.
All right, y'all. That's going to do it for this episode of Coffee and Football presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I want to thank Adam, along with Hayes City Stores, NAI, HexCloud, and Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show. Of course, thank you all for tuning in as well. Bobby, I know you mentioned some of the stuff you have later today, but what else is going on?
Well, we got news and notes over on ontexasfootball.com as well. Please come join us on the message boards there. And then also we'll have a live stream later tonight, 7 o'clock. Come and check us out. We'll be answering questions, comments, etc. on anything you have to know. And before we get out of here, I need to remind people that Brennan Marion still is talking about Texas, apparently. 14 of the last 16 years he's been at different places, yet he finds the time to compare it to his one season in Austin. So there we go.
Pretty good chance he'll be in the portal again after this year.
A very, very good chance. Deion Sanders could be in the portal after this year too.
Yeah.
Well, Well, we hope you all have a great day today. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.
Hook 'em horns.